Hi, and thank you all for coming.
1,
2,
3, 4,
5,
6.
Today I'm going to show you how to make a gingerbread trifle. And this recipe calls for 3 different steps. I went to the internet and I found 2 recipes that I have combined together to make my own. You will find these recipes online by going to 2 different websites. The first is www.tasteofhome.com pumpkin trifle, and the second is www.foodnetwork.com/Paula Deen pumpkin ginger trifle. This recipe involves 3 steps, and I have printed out recipes for you to follow along. So let's get started. First of all, I've made a visual board here so you can see the ingredients that I've included and used in this recipe. We're going to use 1 can of pumpkin. This is a 15 ounce of pure pumpkin. You're going to use 4 cups of milk, 1 16-ounce container of Cool Whip, 2 boxes of Jell-O or just a regular brand of butterscotch pudding mix. I've used 4 different spices here. I'm using a 1/4 teaspoon of allspice, nutmeg, ginger, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. I'm using 1 box of gingerbread mix, 1 egg, 1 1/4 cups of water. Okay, well let's get started. First we're going to start with step 1. Step 1 involves making your gingerbread cake. I baked this cake according to the package instructions, which calls, you're going to mix up your cake. It calls for 1 1/4 cup of water, 1 egg. You're just going to mix it. You're not going to use an electric beater. And you're going to pour it into an ungreased 8-inch baking dish. You're going to bake it on 350 degrees for 30 to 40 minutes. And then once the cake is baked, you're going to let it cool for about 10 minutes. And you're going to set it aside. And this is what your cake looks like after you're finished. I went ahead and prepared it ahead of time so we would have enough time to prepare the pumpkin trifle. I went ahead and crumbled it, putting it in 2 layers. And then next, our next step is going to be our pumpkin mixture. I've gone ahead and mixed up 4 cups of milk, 2 boxes of the butterscotch pudding mix, and as you can see, I've gone in and I've added a can of the pure pumpkin, and I went ahead and put my spices together, already pre-measured, and so we're just going to go ahead and mix this in, and then you're just going to stir. And then once this is completely stirred, you're going to take and use half of this to make your first layer of the pumpkin trifle. So just go ahead and mix it a few times, blending all the ingredients. And this is going to complete your pumpkin mixture. So setting that aside, we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to step 3. And step 3 is layering your pumpkin trifle. You are going to use a 3.5 quart container. We actually have a pumpkin trifle, or just a trifle bowl here. You can use a regular glass serving bowl to make this at home if you don't have one of these. So let's go ahead and begin layering our pumpkin trifle. So what I've done is I've taken my already made gingerbread cake according to the box instructions. I've separated into 2 servings, and I've gone ahead and saved about a 1/4 cup for the garnish, and we're going to set that aside. So let's go ahead and get started with step 3. Step 3, we're going to pour half of our cake, and you can crumble this according to, you can put it in big chunks or you can crumble it up into little pieces. And then next we're going to use half of our pumpkin mixture, and we're going to pour that over the top of our gingerbread cake. And we're going to make a smooth layer over the top of the cake. We're just going to add a little bit more. This is a really easy recipe to make. And then next, we're going to use half of our Cool Whip. We're going to spread it over the top. I went ahead and left this out for a little while I was setting everything up. So you want to go ahead and thaw this out at room temperature so it spreads a little bit easier. And if you stir from the middle when you're spreading this out, it makes your layers a little smoother than if you were just to go ahead and put it in there. Does it look pretty easy so far? Well, it's really good. We've already made this and tried it a couple times. And I think we're going to keep this one as an all-time favorite to serve around the holidays. And I thought this would be a really good recipe to have around Thanksgiving or even Christmas when we use pumpkin. So, just a little bit more Cool Whip. And then we're just going to repeat the layers. We're going to go ahead and add the rest of our cake mix, or our prepared baked gingerbread. And we're just going to layer that over the top again. And then next step is we're going to go ahead and put the rest of our pumpkin mixture on top. By spreading it over the top. Can you all see this? And then once we've used the rest of our pumpkin mixture, we're going to go ahead and use the rest of our Cool Whip. And there you have it. It took about maybe, I want to say, just 15 minutes to put this together. So using the rest of our Cool Whip, you can put this in dollops if you want on the top, or you can go ahead and spread it back out like I did the first layer. And then for the garnish, I've set aside the rest of my gingerbread cake, which was just about 1/4 of a cup. And I went ahead and crumbled that so it looks more like a garnish. Okay. And here's the rest of our cake mix. Okay, so I'm going to go over the steps one more time. So here you have a gingerbread pumpkin trifle. And the steps were, one was to prepare your gingerbread cake according to the package instructions, which was heat your oven at 350, use 1 egg, your gingerbread cake mix, and you're just going to stir that with 1 cup and 1/4 of water. And you're going to bake it for 35 to 40 minutes, and then you're going to set it aside and let it cool. And I went ahead and put it into 2 different serving bowls to have it ready just to go ahead and layer. And then next I went ahead and I prepared my pumpkin mixture using 2 boxes of butterscotch pudding mix. I used a can of pumpkin, 4 cups of milk, and my spices. And then we used a container of Cool Whip. And then you're just going to layer, and that's it. Are there any questions?
Yeah, could you use generic brands to make this dessert?
Sure, you can. You can go to your local supermarket and you can find any of these brands that are not the same as that I used today. Any other questions?
Can I serve this to a diabetic?
Absolutely. You can serve this to a diabetic by using the low-fat pudding mix. You can use the low-fat and Cool Whip and low-fat milk. So it's diabetic friendly. So everyone can enjoy this. Any other questions?
I have one. How long does this pumpkin trifle take to make from start to finish?
The pumpkin trifle takes just right under an hour. You had 35 minutes to prepare your cake, maybe 5 minutes for mixing, and then you're going to set it aside. And while it's cooling, you're going to go ahead and prepare your pumpkin mixture. And it's an easy recipe to put together, just right under an hour. And I've gone ahead and handed out recipes for all of you to take home today. And thank you all for coming.